Hey, hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Level Up and Out podcast show. Where you're able to show up as your true authentic self and learn how to level up in your life. Today, we have a lovely, beautiful guest joining us. Please welcome Natalie to the show. How are you doing and feeling today, Natalie?
I'm great. It's Natalia, but I am great.
Oh, it's Natalie. I had a feeling I was saying it wrong, but thank
It's
you.
okay because that's how it's spelled. So that's what most people do. But yes.
Gotcha. Okay, everyone, it's Natalia. Don't say Natalie. So share a little bit with us. Like, how did you start your journey? How did you get to where you are now?
Ooh, that's a heavy question to start with, girl, but okay. Um, so I've always had gifts. And I think like most new seekers, my gifts started as dreams. But I can't remember a time when I did not have these gifts. And when I was a little girl, I remembered my past lives. And as a little girl, I remember I had this doll and I was so sure that I could command life into it. Like that's how sure I was of my power at a small age, you know? And I spent 3 days commanding this doll to life and it would not come alive. And I was so like despondent about it. But then as I grew, my gifts were dark and it makes sense. I was in a lot of trauma and that informs how you feel your gifts, you know? So I put my gifts away until I was in my early 30s and I got really sick. I was in the military, I got really sick. And I think I experienced what a lot of people would colloquial call the dark night of the soul. You know, this kind of ego attack of who am I? I was stationed in Korea. I didn't understand who I was without my family because they couldn't come with me. I didn't understand what I wanted or what I needed. It's exactly where I find a lot of my clients who are older women, once they're empty nesters, and normally they file for divorce after the kids are gone. And they're like, who am I? It was kind of that crisis. And that's what got me started. That was in 2011. So again, a health crisis, which I think is very normal for healers. Most of us suffer a big health crisis. And then I just really followed spirit. I just kept listening. I kept following that inner voice. I shut out all external voices for years. You know, I wanted, like, spirit was very much like, let us guide you. Don't follow someone else's path. Your path is a different path. So we're going to show you the way. And honestly, and I know this is not a thorough answer, but I just kept listening. I'm very like obedient. My belief in my faith is ridiculous. And so I just kept kind of following, even when I fell flat on my face, and I have a couple times. And it's got me to this point where, I mean, I really believe in my power. I really believe in my power. I, as a healer, promote something that I call the healing triad. And I think this is what got me here. It's very focused around deconstruction on limiting beliefs, you know, because it doesn't matter. I can do all the energy work on you all day. And I'm a proficient energy worker, you know this. But if you don't deconstruct the ways that you see the world, you will keep seeing it that way. It doesn't matter how much energy I clear off of you or how much I realign or remove blockages, you will put them right back, you know? And then you have to build self-esteem. People have to believe that they have the power. And then you have to build competency. And I can see now that spirit was doing all three in me simultaneously, you know? So that's where I'm at now.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And incredible. And it really shows like, if you follow your gut, it gets you to where you should be and where you want to be.
I really believe, so I'm a fate witch, and I really believe we are magnetized to our fate, obviously, right? It's meant for us. So that's why we always need to go like that easiest path, not necessarily an easy path, the
Right.
easiest path. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
With integrity, always from a place of self-love. So I'm never going to take the path that's like going to hurt me or harm me because it's easy or lazy. But we're magnetized to what's meant for us. You know, spirit has shown me when what we want matches what's meant for us, then it's like a super highway. You know, people always talk about manifestation. Well, you manifest easier, much easier when you're aligned with what is meant for you. You struggle with manifestations. You struggle with growth when you're trying to do it in a way that is not aligned with you. You know, that's when we struggle and we stumble. So I do think our natural steady state is so aligned with fate. You know, spirit also gave me a word. Our free will is the ability to throw us off that course. That's what free will is. So if we just surrender to our higher self, who already laid out a path for us,
Yeah.
we're going to end up okay. You know, the waves always bring us back to shore. But when we're trying to fight against the current, where do we end up? We end up exhausted and probably floating in place. We haven't moved anywhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're exactly right. We need to listen to our inner compass. Now, you would think that's so simple, right? But it's not.
Right.
How many voices did you have in your head telling you about who you were and what you should want and where you should go? So as long
Mhm.
as you have those voices informing who you think you are,
Mhm.
if you're not at your center, then you're not aligned with yourself. You're aligned with someone else. And that's never going to yield good results. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Never. You can't live your life for anyone else. So you know me, I'm all about radical selfishness. I'm all about you need to be self-centered. Who else is supposed to be at the center? What else ish are you supposed to be? Momish? You should be so
Mhm.
focused on, or husbandish. Husband, what should I do with my life? But because so many people don't know their own voice, they are dependent on everyone else to inform where they should go and what they should do. And that gives power to who? That
Yeah.
gives power to so much outside of you, so
110%. Mic drop right there. Episode's over.
I have
So
more. I have
yeah,
more.
no, it's amazing. So it sounds like, how do I start, showing up and loving myself? What would you say to
Mhm. I say you have to figure out who you are first.
them?
And that's tedious work that I'm going to be honest, most people are too lazy to do. Most people aren't willing to do that until they're at rock bottom and
Mhm.
they have that crisis. Who am I? Now that I don't have all these other things that I've been externalizing to define me, once my kids are gone, once my marriage fell apart, once people abandoned me, once I lost that job, once I got sick, once I had to redefine myself, I didn't know who I was in the first place. So I didn't know how to direct that.
Mhm.
So I really do think it is seeing exactly who are you, figuring that out. And that is that heavy deconstruction work, that shadow work. Now, a lot of people conflate what shadow work is they conflate shadow work with just trauma work. Trauma is one piece of what informs the shadow. It is one piece. And for some, it's a huge piece. For some, it's a small piece. It just depends. But for most people, it's mostly going to be around our cages of identity, is what I call it. So, as a Black Latina, how has that informed what I think about the place that I'm allowed to stand in this world, the space that I'm allowed to take? What roles do I believe I have to play? How much of my identity was force fed to me and not able to develop organically and freely?
Mhm.
Most children aren't given the space to
Mhm.
even express their emotions in an authentic way. So I can't even express myself authentically. That's why I don't know who I am. Right now with Gen Z, I have a lot of clients who are like 16 to 20, a
Mhm.
lot. Like I'm miserable. I'm miserable. Like their tolerance for the abuse that we were able to like endure for longer, they can't tolerate it. They
Yeah.
can't. And that's a good thing. So I think it's important that we learn to hear our own voice and center our own voice. And that can be so hard until you do that deconstruction around culture,
Mhm.
around gender, around sexuality, around religion. I would say those are the big four. And sexuality less if you're straight, but a lot more if you're not straight. That really informs your identity. That deconstruction has to happen, and that is tedious and painful work, because
Mhm.
in concert with that, you do have to look at your trauma and
Yeah.
how that informs your self-belief. And I would say those are the two big areas that we need to deconstruct. And again, most people, if they're doing their shadow work, if they even are doing their shadow work, they're doing it very on the surface. And that's fine. We have to do the surface work before we get deeper. But most people just don't know how to go deeper in themselves because you can't see what you refuse to allow yourself to see.
Mm.
What you've hidden from yourself will not be easily uncovered by you. There's a reason that you hid it from yourself. So sometimes you do need a little bit of help. And I think a lot of people just don't know where to find that.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
it's so true.
you do that work, right?
Yep. Yeah, I'm huge on self-love, and finding your voice and who you are. And so many of my own clients like, I'm afraid I'm gonna lose all my friends. And I'm like, are they real friends then?
That's what I say to people all the time when I can feel that they are holding on to relationships. Well, my mother is really abusive and she does this to me, but I don't want to lose my mother. You don't have her now, sweetheart. You
Yeah.
don't have her. If she only loves this performance and this fake
Mhm.
persona that suits her needs while
Yes.
denying your own, you already don't have her. And what's worse is you've lost yourself, sweetheart. And that's the worst thing to lose. You know, I think self-love is such an important component of it. I just find that if I start with self-esteem without that deconstruction, it doesn't stick. You know what I mean? Because I can tell you all day long that you deserve, but if you don't believe that you deserve, for instance, I'll have clients with their trauma. I always give the example of this woman who, she was 3 years old, her uncle was sexually abusing her.
Oh my
And the
gosh.
things that she said about herself, right? Because we assign value as young children, right? We assign a very immature and a very self-centered view of everything. That informs our value because our world is small. So she said it meant that she was worthless, that she deserved it, and that the world was not safe. These were the 3 value statements that she assigned. And she carried that throughout her life. So think about how she showed up. Doesn't matter if I come to her and I say, you do deserve it, like all the best things that the world has to offer. You do deserve love. You didn't deserve that, until she does that inner child work around her trauma and meets that 3-year-old version of herself and reframes what that 3-year-old version of herself felt. She won't allow herself to believe that she's deserving of love, you know? So I agree with, I think love, I think that's the most important. And look, for all your listeners, you can skip the deconstruction. You can skip it. You can go straight to love. That's just not something that most people's ego will allow them to do, because we even look at our spirituality through a very capitalistic lens and we don't realize it. We need to work hard for our self-love. You know, I will get people all the time who tell me self-love is a journey. And I push back so hard on that. Self-love is not a journey. It is a choice. The deliberation, deciding whether or not you deserve that love. That's the journey. That has nothing to do. Once you make the choice to love yourself, you just love yourself. You can make that choice free of that deconstruction. You absolutely can. But most people think that they need to earn their own self-love because they're looking at it through a capitalistic lens. It doesn't have any value unless I have worked, suffered, struggled, sacrificed, and earned it. You know, I must. If I just give it to myself freely, you know, look at what they did with like the hippie movement. Free love was stupid. Free love was worthless, right? We have to make love a commodity that is exclusive, that you must work and labor for and earn. And it's always external, because you giving it to yourself is free. That can't be good love. So you need to instead focus on the love of everyone around you, right? And be a beggar for their love. Forget about loving yourself. You're only valid when someone else chooses you. You're only valid when someone else sees your worth. You can't see it for yourself. And that's all bullshit. You absolutely can just choose. And a lot of people do this mental gymnastics of, well, I'm not good enough. You know, I've done bad things. Okay. Love is not conditional on works. Love must be unconditional. Must be, especially my self-love. So I'm going to be honest with myself. In love, I'm going to hold myself accountable. In love, I'm going to say, you've been screwing up, and that's okay, sweetheart. Where I cannot give love, I must give grace. I must shine a light, you know, and see those parts of myself and give grace so that I can do something different, choose something different, and then love those parts of myself too. So I don't say this like a sugary sweet love. I say this powerful, warrior is love of, I am going to see the truth of who I am. I'm going to stand in integrity and be honest about that. And I choose to love myself anyways, because I deserve it. Now, while love cannot be conditional, our relationship with people around us should very much be conditional, but our love for them should not be. Do you see how distorted this is? A lot of us are in relationships with no conditions, no boundaries, because we're beggars for love, right? There we have, but with our self-love, we have conditions. Everything is all like corrupted and distorted and turned on its head. And it is because this belief system serves the capitalistic God that we all have been told to serve, right? If we can give ourselves love, and that's what we're all chasing, because that's what we're chasing, isn't it? We create money as a proxy for that love. We think we can like buy enough things to make ourselves comfortable or worthy enough of that love, or so that other people will see us and what we have and give us that love. But what we're looking for is love and acceptance, but we're not giving it to ourselves. If we did, we wouldn't feel the need to go get lip fillers for someone else's acceptance. We wouldn't feel the need to buy a fancy car just to flex for someone else to see us, or to buy clothes that appeal. We would not be consumers constantly chasing validation if we just validated ourselves. We take back all our power the second that we choose to love ourselves radically, in spite of our very human flaws. You know, people say we are divine creatures in human bodies. Okay, but we're also humans.
Yeah.
We're also humans. We're not just divine. We're also flawed beings having an experience meant to help us learn. And you learn by making mistakes. You learn sometimes by hurting people and recognizing what that is, and then fixing that. You know, I have so many clients who are so worried about hurting other people, so they won't stand in their truth. They won't advocate for themselves. They won't stand up for themselves. You might hurt people. You might, and then hold yourself accountable, fix it, move on, do better.
Yeah.
You know, it can be so easy. Love and grace. You know, let's just give that to ourselves freely, because we can. We can. We can give ourselves respect. We can give ourselves love, belief, grace. Nobody can stop us. And yet they have. They've convinced us not to give that to ourselves, but to be beggars to everyone else for it. And for me, you know me, that cannot stand. That cannot stand, you know? So.
Wow. No, that was so good. No, thank you for bringing that in, because so many people need to hear that and hear the truth. Hey, you know, and I always tell them, stop buying all that shit from Amazon. You don't need it. Right. And it only fulfills you for a minute. And then you're like, oh, you're right back to where you were. And it's never enough, because you're not giving it to yourself. But, you know, it's like, stop doing that.
You have the best recipe for the soul food that you need. You have it. No one else is going to feed you as well as you can feed yourself. Nobody. I don't care how much they love. I don't care your mother, your father. Nobody will feed you as well as you feed yourself. So you cannot be looking. You cannot be beggars. You know, Spirit gave me a word this week, and they really said you make the most power-informed decisions from a place of self-sufficiency. And that is so flippin' true. Like, I am probably going to accept crumbs of love if I'm starving for it.
Right.
If I'm full on my own love and you come to me with crumbs, I don't need that.
Yes.
So then I get to stand in a more power-informed place and say, no, thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you. You know, I wish you all the best. No hate, but I don't, like, I deserve better than that. And so I'm going to continue giving myself better. When you are full, you're not accepting crap from everybody, you know, but instead what I see is a lot of beggars who are eating shit off the floor. Please forgive me. They're eating it, and they think someone will see them. They've made themselves small and lowly. Someone will see them and say, oh my God, you poor child. You've been, look at everything that you've sacrificed, everything. Come sit at the table. But that's not how it works. If I see you sitting on the floor eating crap, I'm just going to keep feeding you what you are eating. Why would you eat it if you didn't enjoy it? Like, that's what people don't understand about manifestation. You do the things that you want. Now that deconstruction is, why do you want to eat that shit? That's deconstruction. We think, well, no, I wouldn't want that, right? We intellectualize our emotions. Of course, I don't want that, but no, you must want it, because we only do the things that we want, and we don't do things we don't want. We don't. So now ask yourself, why are you participating in that toxic relationship? Why are you still at that job that's draining you? Why are you participating in an abusive relationship with your parents still as a grown-ass adult, letting them dictate how you live your life still? When you're miserable, who has to live with the consequences of your actions first? You. So how are you letting everyone else determine things that are going to make you suffer? Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It's maddening, if I'm being honest, because it's not that hard to just start investing in doing that work on yourselves. And most people just are not interested in it. You know, how many people think our services should all be free?
Oh my gosh.
For something powerful, and they don't even see the value in it. They want it, but they don't see the value in it. And then even when they come to us, they think we're supposed to snap our finger and we're supposed to do an energy clearing and they're just going to be fixed. Or they're going to go do an ayahuasca retreat and that's going to fix everything. They're going to do some shrooms and that's that. Stop being lazy. If you're not even willing to show up for yourself, why should the universe?
Yeah.
And from an energetic perspective, that energy is what's informing your aura, right? This energy of like, I don't believe I'm good enough to even do the work for myself. When you encounter other people, people are lazy. Like I'm lazy. Let's just be honest. I'm probably not going to give you more than is required to give you.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to give you just as much as you ask for. So again, if you're eating shit off the floor and you seem quite comfortable and content eating shit off the floor, then that's what I'm going to give you too.
Yeah.
You know, I would like to think that I'm such a beautiful human being that I would be like, no, get up. But no, I'm stopped doing that because people who are not ready to stand up on their own will just rely on me to carry them. I cannot keep doing that for people. So if you're on the floor and you're eating poop, okay, let me leave you to what you're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got to stand up. You got to say, no, this isn't what I want. I want something better. I demand something better. And I'm going to start choosing something better. People think manifestation is just about asking. No, you want a softer life. Are you choosing a softer life in all of your decisions? Are you, when you have a choice, are you choosing soft or are you choosing hard? When you have a choice, you want a kind world, are you choosing kindness or are you choosing something else? That's how you manifest, by your very choices, even energetically. But we've turned this whole spirituality thing into an aesthetic, and people are lazy and people don't want to do the work. And it is so frustrating. But I'm hoping that even one person hears this and says, you know what? Yeah, let me just start loving myself today because I can. You know,
exactly. Like give yourself permission to just start doing it.
Yeah.
That simple, you know. And I love how you said like people want an easy fix. So many times I had a girl who's like, I want to be skinny tomorrow and I'm gonna pay you even more than what you're, and I'm like, it doesn't work like that. You know, I go, that would be awesome, right? I go, but it takes time. You didn't gain that weight overnight. It's gonna take time for you to lose that. End of the day, I'm like, we're just not meant to work with each other because I just can't do that because I am not going to promise you something. That's not really realistic. But that's the mindset of people. Like, I'll pay you more money. Just like that. Give me the results. Like, you need to put in the work.
Right. That's interesting that they think. See, I've not had those encounters. And I think because the way I present myself on TikTok, they know very quickly. Like, don't come to me if you're not really ready to get your hands dirty in your own shit. You know, like I'm just here to give you the healing that you want. You know, you've come to me, you know, so you got to be willing to invest as much as you're asking me to invest. And that's not just a monetary investment, you know, and I don't know about your prices, but like my prices aren't crazy. I see some coaches who charge like ridiculous money, right? No, because that's not the primary investment that you're making. It's not a primary monetary investment. It's an investment in yourself. And if what you're saying is that you are not worth that investment, how dare you ask me to invest in you? If you are too lazy to do that for yourself, don't come to me. Like I find, oh my God, this makes me so angry now that I'm thinking about it. People who are too lazy to love themselves, but demand that everyone else do it. Even when we talk about some of what's happening in the social political climate, you know, where people are so demanding that everyone else accept them, but they haven't accepted themselves, that everyone else make accommodations for them, but they're not accommodating themselves. Everything is turned again on its head. You have a duty to yourself first. I believe in the 100% rule. You have to give to yourself first. The best portion of yourself belongs to you. Then you give to others. No one else has a duty to do that for you. Most people are struggling to love themselves, to see themselves, to accept themselves. And yet you're spending so much of your energy trying to convince the world to give you that which you are too lazy to give to yourself. How dare you? Like how entitled. No, that's not how any of this works. You love yourself well, you shine your light, and other people will want to feed that in a beautiful, positive way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. So true. Yeah. I'm like, there's no shortcut here, honey. Like, this is not happening. This is not working. It was a referral actually through someone I knew. And I'm like, I don't care. It's not happening. Like, you're not for me. And I'm not going to talk to you, you know, multiple times and you're going to, no. And I'm like, I'm here to help you. And I don't charge crazy amounts. I've seen people, I've been one of those people where I paid a bunch of money for
Did
a mentor.
you?
And I was like, I'm getting the same shit every week. Like, I'm done with this, And then it was like, well, we're going to help you level up. I'm like, you haven't in the last 2 months and you're taking a lot of my money. So I was like, you know what? I'm done. And that was a lesson for myself to learn. Like,
Yeah.
not everyone who is a healer, a mentor is a good person.
And not just that, now we're getting a little bit into the woo, but I've gotten a message a long time ago. There are healers, and if there are healers, there must be destroyers. There are plenty of destroyers masquerading as healers. They are spiritually gifted. Of course they are. They have the spiritual gifts, but they're not here for your benefit. They're here to steal what you have. And when it's a lot of like new seekers, baby healers, as I call them, they are so open. They are so open. They are so ready to shine their light. They are so ready to be molded. Now think about this from like a bigger spiritual picture. If you are a powerful healer in the making, and I don't want that out there in the world, what better way to get you to dim your light than to make you think I'm leading you towards yourself while leading you away from yourself, while wasting your time, draining your pockets, draining your energy. So people have got to start being more careful about which healers they interact with, because everyone who calls himself a healer isn't, and everyone with spiritual gifts isn't a healer. At all. I've seen a lot of people get hurt from things like Reiki, like get hurt because anyone can go get a Reiki certification. Anyone. It doesn't denote any like moral value at all. But so many people hear Reiki and think, oh, they're like, because it's an aesthetic. Oh, they're like goddess energy and they're going to help. No. If I see one more empowerment coach, or what does it mean to level up? Like you use those words. What exactly does that mean? What are you offering? No, you're helping yourself level up off my energy and off my money. I've seen this with a lot of manifestation coaches. They're manifesting your money. That's it. They're really good manifestors for themselves. But
because it's like, because I love that word. That's more like, that's a word I use all the time with my clients, but I'm like, it's not leveling up me. It's how you want to level up. What parts of you do you want to level up and how? Then we talk about that. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's not about what's going on in my life. I have my own coaches, mentors for that. You don't need to know about me, because a lot of times people want to deflect, right? Like, I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about, no. It's like, slow your roll. When this is about you.
Define
and if
your
you want
goals.
to follow my journey, that's on social. Okay. You follow there, but during the session, it's about you. And I love that you bring in, about healers and how, because this happened to me. Literally, you're speaking to my soul. When I started like seeking more, I'm like, oh, I want to develop my gifts more. And when I started doing that, I met someone in person who was like, oh my gosh, like your light is so bright. And it was like, come work with my business. And I was like, well, hold on. I just met you. Something in my gut was like, and I kept hearing in my head, like, she's not a good person. She's not a good person. Stop. But she was relentless. And I was like, why is she? And I was like, no, I really had these experiences. Like, I really feel in my heart that I'm meant to develop my mediumship more. And then she goes, no, honey, you have no mediumship skills. And I was like, how would you know though? And then she's like, your grandma's here. I'm like, but my grandma is not here. I don't feel that she's here. So it was like this long story. And I'm like, something's not right. And, I don't understand what is, and I was thinking in my head because I was brand new and I'm like, I thought every, healer was kind. And why do I feel like it's not? So I learned my lesson. I didn't go into business with her, regardless how many times she messaged me. But I was like, okay, universe is teaching me a lesson. Everyone's not a good person.
In your discernment, you were developing your gifts. You asked to help develop your gift, and Spirit gave you an opportunity to develop your gift. You made me remember of when I worked with one medium, and I did a mediumship. I never worked with anyone else, but I did a mediumship development course. And want to know what's so funny? Everyone in the course kept asking me, like looking at me as the leader, and she got very annoyed with me. She got very annoyed with me because I was more knowledgeable instinctively than intuitively than she was. And that's no, like, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but the point was, every time I would ask her for a question, she always came, like, for instance, I was like, am I going to have any more children? She was like, don't you already have enough? I was like, I'm asking my abuela, who you claim that you're in contact with. That's not how my abuela would talk. So you're trying to limit me because you don't like the power that you feel coming from me. So you want to try to contain it. right? And it feels like it was something very similar with you. You don't have any mediumship, and come work for me,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Which puts me in a position where, in
Mhm.
respect to you, right? It makes me your guide. So here, since I'm your guide, I'm going to guide you down this very narrow path towards my best interest, not towards yours. You got to be so careful what healers you work with. You really do. For those people listening, you really, and I love what you said, you got to listen to your gut, that tiny voice inside of you. I don't care how tiny it is. You owe a duty to yourself. Respect yourself enough to listen to that, even when there's no external signs to validate what you know and what you feel inside yourself, because that's how we get ourselves in trouble, isn't it? When we're like, what? They feel like a nasty person, but they haven't done anything. But they haven't, who are you serving by doing that? Whose needs and feelings are you prioritizing? Because you're not prioritizing your own, you're prioritizing theirs. I don't want to hurt their feelings. They haven't done anything. So you hurt your own. Why would you do that? When you get that voice, that whisper, just honor it. Just honor that whisper. That will always show you the way. We don't talk about discernment as a spiritual gift, but I believe that it is. And I believe it's one of the most important spiritual gifts. I remember when I was a little girl and I would talk to adults, they would say, you were gifted with discernment. And I didn't understand what that meant. I didn't understand that it is a gift of being able to cut through and feel the truth of a situation. That is a psychic gift. And I found people who just like, no matter how much I try to encourage them to develop it, they just can't, because they just aren't gifted in that same way, So I think discernment is so important in this, but I also understand everyone doesn't have it, but everyone does have intuition. Everyone has intuition, and you can listen to that intuition and honor yourself. So many people want to be heard, they want to be seen, but they don't hear themselves. They don't see themselves, and when you can give that to yourself, why not? Why not honor your own voice,
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that we're talking spiritual too, because so many people I talk to like, oh, it's creepy, or it's not for me, or everyone knows of Reiki, right? Everyone and their moms knows of Reiki, and everyone thinks, oh, Reiki is the answer. But I'm like, but is it though? And I'm like, and have you explore other options and to see, hey, maybe what you're doing is not working.
Well, let me tell you. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh no, you're okay. Which is exactly why I love having like healers like you on, like, you can help people and you don't have to call yourself a Reiki healer,
No.
And I know you do amazing energy work.
But so I met up with someone yesterday that I actually were mutuals on TikTok, and we found out we live close together. So we go on my back land, and she's like, you want me to do some Reiki on you? I'm like, absolutely not. Like, and viscerally, like, no, I do not like Reiki. And she's like, why? I said, because you're doing work in someone's name. I don't know that person. I don't know that person's energy. And you know what she said to me? She said, well, it's good for like getting clients. And that's exactly it. So a lot of people don't understand what kind of energy work I do, because it's not Reiki. But let me tell you how I feel about energy work. And my energy work is profound, and I still feel this way. All right. Especially when it's about clearings or blockages or things like that. I liken it. I'm a licensed massage therapist also. I liken it to a chiropractor and a massage therapist. Okay. Chiropractors can adjust you. Reiki, energy healers, whatever energy work they're doing, they can adjust you. But if the muscles are still tight, it's going to pop that thing right back out of place, out of alignment. And so you're going to have to keep going back to the chiropractor to keep getting adjustments, right? That muscle, that massage is that deconstruction. We need to remove what is creating that block in the first place. And that's the work, again, that people don't want to do. Now, when it comes to Reiki, you obviously, I'm all about energy work. I tell people, do energy work in your own name. Do Natalia energy work. Do whatever energy work. I teach energy work to clients. And one of the other reasons I don't like Reiki is because it's a standard way of teaching energy work to people. And it's become highly commercialized, like yoga, stripped of its essence and boiled down to be delivered quickly and sold from an online certificate. Okay. So let's be clear about that. But also, everyone doesn't experience energy the same. Everyone doesn't perceive it the same. Everyone doesn't move it the same. And so for a lot of healers, you're going to find yourself limited by learning in that way. It's the same thing with psychics. I will tell them, don't start learning through tarot. Learn on your own. And it's harder. It's so much harder. You're going to fall, but you're going to learn so much more. And you're going to learn to read so much deeper without that crutch. You
Yes.
don't need this curriculum to understand how to do energy work. You just need to feel it and do what instinctively feels right to you and move it how it feels right to you and develop that, So that's why I find Reiki, first of all, I find Reiki to be a place that a lot of nasty people get to hide behind. A lot of nasty people, and they're given credibility simply off of Reiki.
Yeah.
And how popularized that term is. It's like when shaman became so popular.
Yes.
Everyone was saying that they're a shaman, and I was like, oh goodness, because I am a shaman. And I don't say that as an elitist, I say that as everyone isn't a shaman. Everyone isn't, it's for some reason with spiritual gifts, we devalue them when we do this thing of everyone is. No, everyone isn't. Everyone is not an Olympic athlete. Everyone is not a genius. Everyone is not super gifted in the spiritual. We all have gifts, but they're not all the same. But we are all gifted. Maybe you're more gifted mentally. Maybe you're more gifted physically. And some of us are more gifted spiritually. I'm not gifted in those other ways, but I am gifted here. I don't understand. It's like a diminishing of our gifts. And I think the very reason that our society and media has diminished gifts is to neuter them, so that the space is so filled that it's hard to find the true healers. And then we're not doing the work that we need to do, or people are turned away. And I'm sure you found clients like this, right? They've gone to bad healers. And then they're like, oh, all spiritualists are fake. All psychics are fake. All mediums are fake. Because there's some scammers. They're all fake. No, you just been bamboozled.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Exactly. And you did that to you. Like, like it was your money. You paid for that person. Should do your homework. Check them out before spending that money. But I do hear like, oh, every psychic is not real. And I was like, but that's not true. Have you actually gone to a good one? Or when I first started about one of my friends, it was like, okay, gal, if you're real, read me right now. I'm like, okay, I'm not just gonna read you just because you said so.
Yo, I had a client like this the other day. She was like, I want a mediumship reading. I'm a proficient medium. I do not like doing mediumship reading. I don't like making contact with past spirits. I don't like feeling all their pain. I can feel how they died. It's not fun for me. There's no money worth it to me. I just don't enjoy it, right? And so I'll do it though, if someone wants it and someone books it. So she wanted me to contact her father, and I'm like, I can. She was like, okay, I'll book in the morning. And I checked back and I was like, I just want to check in because you didn't book. She's like, oh, I just been disappointed so many times by mediums that I don't trust mediums. Okay, again, you came to me. I said, I respect that. I said, but I have already made contact with your father, so I know I can, because the second you bring them up, they come through for me. I see them, right? And so he's like standing there wanting to make contact. I'm like, I can't force her to book a session, and I don't read for free. And so she's like, well, ask him about da 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 da. And if you get that right, then maybe I'll book. And I was like, bitch, I am not a circus performer. Like I'm not interested in proving my gift to you. If you don't believe in it, that's fine. But like, that's fine. I'm not, and I'm sure you're not. And I don't know any psychic or medium worth their salt who is trying to force their services on anyone.
Yep, exactly.
Like,
they're probably not real,
right.
If they're like, because one of my friends like, I got this message on Instagram, like I feel your energy and your aura,
Stop it.
and DM me. I was like, do not DM that girl. She's not real. She's like, no, but she says she feels my aura. I'm like, it's bullshit.
These are, I call them ambulance chasing psychics. It's like the lawyers, right? They're like, oh, here goes someone vulnerable, right? She follows other psychics. She's a big dummy, they assume. I can feel you. I guarantee you, number one, no one is feeling you through the billions of people out here in the world, and you're a perfect stranger. But number two, if I really did feel you and I had a pertinent message to give, any psychic worth their salt would just give the message. If spirit is demanding that I contact you, if spirit is demanding that I share a message with you, because that has happened to me. I've been in a store with a stranger and spirit's been like, they have something attached to them. Like, oh, they have something attached to them. I remember this one time I was at a psychic fair and the girl had this big thing behind her holding her throat like this. Right. And I'm sitting there like, oh shit. Like, I do not like mediumship. I do not want to. And I was not as confident in my gifts back then. And I looked at her and I'm like, excuse me. Now I was there just as a customer, not as a psychic. Right. I was like, excuse me. Spirit is demanding I tell you this. And she was like, oh my God, I've been having trouble with my throat and I've been having so much pain and da 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 da. And I ended up clearing her. But nowhere in there would I be like, Spirit has a message for you. Excuse me, can you give me $10 first? Like
Right.
that is not how this is going to work. You know what I'm saying? So I wish people would, because there's so many fake accounts of me.
Yes.
And there's like 400 fake accounts and people are getting scammed left and right. And I'm like, what about me makes you think that I'm going to slide into your DMs to be like, oh, give me money, I have this message for you? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's me that people are getting suckered.
Yeah, it's like, pay attention, people, like pay attention to what you're doing. And it's like that inner voice. Like, if it doesn't feel good, I always say, if it feels yucky, stop going in that direction. I had actually a coach, another coach on my podcast show. And during our recording, my Zoom was going nuts. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think it's his grandma who's here. And I'm literally like, would you stop so I can finish my interview? Right. And then like afterwards, I told him, like, I just have to share with you. And he's like, oh my gosh, I should pay you. I'm like, no, I just really feel called to share this with you. And I
Right.
kept smelling toast. And I'm like, I'm not eating any toast right now. And I'm like, did she really like toast or something? And he's like, how do you know that? I'm like, it's going to sound a little crazy. I just know this because I smell it as if I just ate it and I did not eat anything yet.
Right.
And he's like, she always made me toast.
Oh,
When I went to go see her, and she's my great grandma. And I'm like, it's definitely her. And I'm like, she really wants to see you. I go, has anything happened in your house recently? Because I feel like she's laughing about it. And he's like, yeah, my alarm system keeps going off, but there's nothing. The alarm company says it's nothing. And I'm like, no, you don't realize it's actually her. And
something.
something, right? And he was like, he started crying, and I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, I didn't want to make you upset. I go, but it's just for me to tell you to connect with her. Like, she's trying, you're not listening. And that's the message.
So you bring up something that I think is very important that I've just started talking about, and I don't see many people talking about it, and that's spiritual intelligence. People think that spiritual awareness is just for people who consider themselves spiritual, with no understanding that we are all spiritual beings. Whether you think you're on a spiritual path or not, you're on a spiritual path, just like you're on a physical and mental path. You can't divorce yourself from that. It is an integral part of who you are. And there's a remembrance that needs to happen in people that, yeah, I am just energy, just interacting with other energy, and energy can affect me in ways that I don't understand. And for me, I really want to start normalizing talking about some of that. I have a friend who is not spiritually minded at all, one of my dear friends, in a horrible marriage. And I've never offered a clearing to him for some reason, because he's not spiritually minded. I just didn't even think about it, right? And he's normally always upbeat. And recently he was very down, and I was like, what's going on? He's like, well, my daughter is sick, and just this marriage, I want to get out of it, but I just don't, like, basically he couldn't leave. Like, he wanted to leave, but he felt stuck, And so I was like, can I clear you? Spirit just put it on me. And so I cleared him, and I cleared his daughter too, because I felt called to. His mom called him almost right after I cleared to tell him that his daughter's fever broke. Number one, right? And I was like, how do you feel? And he was like, I feel better. And I was like, okay, not the response I was looking for. The next day though, he was like, oh, I missed the part. When I cleared him and I channeled in him to clear him, and I don't always clear like that, but that's how I cleared this time. I saw so much murky, nasty, dirty energy, but also he had like an energetic magnet inside of him. It was weird. I'd never seen anything like that I knew was connected to that woman. She had fed him something energetically, right? So I removed it. I didn't tell him the specifics though, because he's not woo-woo. So I kept that to myself. And the next day he's like, I finally see her for who she is. I can't believe I couldn't see it before. It feels so clear now. It's like glasses have been taken off. Because he had no spiritual awareness, no spiritual intelligence. He didn't understand the way that people's energy can interact, infect you, be leading you in a certain way, attach you, be draining you. It's not just cords. I'm glad we're talking about cords now. It's not just blockages. It can be an attachment. It can be a lot of things, So, but if we don't know that, then we don't grow an awareness and a sensitivity to, and then it just makes it harder for us to navigate this world, doesn't it?
Yes.
You know, I feel like it's so much easier for me to discern the good directions for me to go in because I am feeling energy, because I am so sensitive to energy. I know right away what's for me, what's not for me. You know, it makes everything so much easier. But we don't teach this, and we don't teach this for the same reason why we don't want everyone loving themselves, because
Yeah.
there's too much power here. If you understood, then you would understand, and you wouldn't allow for a lot of the abuse, systemic abuse and familial abuse, cultural abuse. You wouldn't allow for a lot of that to happen if you understood your power fully, you know?
Yes. Oh, I love that. And I was saying, like, it's like being brainwashed, right? You see that same thing on TV again and again and again, right? I'm like, when was the last time you spent a little time with yourself? Like, what do I want to do? What do I like? Instead of like, go buy this and, go get this. It's going to solve your first world
No, exactly.
problems. You
What
know?
do you know your own mind? Do you know your own heart? You know, and not to get so far off the subject, but I tie everything together in a weird way. I'm such a weirdo in this way. But I was on TikTok this morning fighting with someone about politics. And they're like, well, you know, we need to vote for the lesser of two evils. And I'm like, have you even stopped to think about what you are affirming and what you are saying? You are affirming
Mhm.
evil.
Yeah.
Yes, it's less than this evil. You are even saying it. It's not even cloaked or hidden. I'm
Mhm.
going to vote for the lesser of evil. And when I say I will not vote for an evil, right? And they're like, but this is the system and this is how it has to be. It now make this smaller. It's just not what we see in a lot of our personal relationships. This is not what we see in our families, in our cultures. You know, when we're doing some of the deconstruction work, well, this is just the way that it's always been. This is just the way that it is. This is just, and I told them the captor will never give you the route to freedom, sweetheart. They will never give you that route to freedom. So you can't just stay in these really toxic dynamics and paradigms because it's the way that it's always been. You know, a lot of us feel called that we are cycle breakers, that we are meant to change something in our families. But what's interesting is we're not standing in our authenticity. Instead, we're bending and breaking ourselves to fit into some idea of what we're supposed to be. Well, as long as we're doing that, we're not aligned with our power, we're not standing in our power, and we're not doing the work that we're meant to be doing in ourselves, in our families, in our communities, in this world. We're not doing it. You know, so I think I'm such a spiritual weirdo and that I am very political, you know, and I talk a lot about physical health, you know, and I combine the three. But interestingly enough, I lean into the authenticity of who I am. And I didn't understand why I was this way. I didn't see any other healers who spoke or acted like I did, you know, very few who looked like me at the time, but definitely none that like, they were all like love and light, and not that I'm not love and light, but very like goddess energy. And they weren't talking about the practicalities of spiritualism in the everyday mundane life. And one day Spirit told me to research the indigenous people of Panama, which is where my family's from. And when I did, the shamans there, the community is a matrilineal community. So the men come and move in with the woman. They take the woman's name, and the women are the leaders, and they are leaders around three areas: the spiritual, the physical wellness, and the political system. And I was like, no wonder I'm like
Makes
this.
sense.
Exactly. But I would not have known that if I was just looking at other people to try to inform how I was supposed to be. I would not have known that if I was listening to other people tell me how healers were supposed to show up. Those of us who are called as leaders in this space, we are weird. We are on the fringe. We see the world different. That is our superpower. So trying to become more like the world, trying to belong in this world isn't the answer. We cannot change it by becoming more like it. We are meant to change it by being our authentic self and shining our light bright. We don't beat people up to try to get them to see the world our way. No, we just shine our light, and those people who are drawn, and those people who are not are not. But there's too many weirdos out there who are too afraid and ashamed to be weird. They don't know their own voice. They don't know their own heart. They don't know what they want. They've been quieting and gaslighting and suffocating themselves for their whole life, denying the truth of who they are. And it's time for us, like seriously, there's something energetic happening right now. It is time for us all to remember who we are. It is time. And I wish that people would start waking up to this truth. Look, it is not the easiest thing to wake up to. And I will not promise that this path is always the smoothest path, but I know that it results in a lot of beauty. You know, I live in a beautiful home. I had no job when I got approved for this mortgage. I don't know how it happened, but Spirit said that house is for you. We're going to take you there. That house is for you. It's in a town I didn't want to live in, but they said, this land, this house, there's something that's meant for you, you know? So everything works out if you just trust. Even when it gets a little bit scary, everything is working out for you, but only when you're aligned.
Yeah.
Only when you're aligned. And until you get into alignment, let's say you're trying to manifest a lot of things, right? You want a whole lot of things to happen, but you're not in alignment. The universe will do everything in its power to pull your ass into alignment so that you can have that. Oh, what does that look like? Losing friends, losing family, losing jobs, getting sick, having a mental crisis because you have to figure out who you are. It will take away everything standing in your way of you aligning with yourself. And those are those tower moments that people don't like, but you could make it easy for yourself and just choose it. You don't have to force the universe's hand. Just choose yourself. Yeah. Everything that's happening in your life, I don't care, people listening, I don't care what's happening. The question is, are you choosing yourself? Because as long as you're choosing yourself and choosing more of what you want to see in this world, you're good. You're good. I promise you it's going to work out. I have lost jobs that scared the heck out of me. It's all worked out. I have gotten, like, people left me, rejected me, hurt me. It's all worked out. I promise you. You just keep trusting in yourself and keep getting realigned with yourself, because every so often things will pull you out of alignment. Children, work, life, stress. Just keep coming back into alignment and you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I love that so much. There's so many good nuggets there. Like, that's how everyone go back and listen to everything that it was just said. So someone's like, wow, this is like listening to, like, oh my gosh, I love the energy word. I love your vibe. And tell a little bit about all the services that you provide so they can get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah. So it's funny because I just did a rebrand on my site, which is so funny because my business has gone since I did that rebrand, but I understand why. My work right now is very focused around two things: self-defined spirituality. So really empowering people to define their spiritual practice as they intend, and helping people build competency in the spiritual. So I do mentorship, but only really in a group setting, although people can book one-on-one sessions. I do a lot of group work. I do something called Spirit School. And right now we're doing like self-esteem shadow work boot camp, right? And then the other part of what I do is really focus around the healing triad. So as a life coach, booking sessions for me to take you through that deconstruction while building self-esteem and reaffirming that foundation of identity, and building some, and this is dependent on what the client wants, some competence, some spiritual intelligence. So if they're looking to be a reader as a profession, that's going to look very different than someone who just wants to understand how to navigate the corporate world a little bit better. And I can help them learn how to do some energy work and how to read and be more sensitive to energy to help them in that way. But I think that that's an essential skill for everyone. So even if you come to me and you're not woo-woo at all, I'm going to teach you some basics of energy work, because I think that's important. And then because I am a massage therapist, I am now doing in-person trauma healing rituals. And so that looks like, and the massages right now are, I mean, they can be inside and I have a spa inside, but I really want to do it out in nature, do the healing work there with sound therapy, and in conjunction with some of this inner child deconstruction. A lot of what I do is around trauma work in particular. So even yesterday, people think they do so much work on their shadow, but I will take you to meet your inner child. I will take you to face that inner child. And then we release that in a really profound way. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know anyone doing trauma work as profoundly as I'm doing it. And why am I here? Because Spirit has shown me how to do it. And that's why I'm saying healers have got to start aligning with themselves and listening, because we all have a unique piece of this puzzle. So most of my work is centered around that trauma work, that building up the self-esteem, that self-belief, that self-identity, and then teaching the basics. I do that either through coaching, in person or one-on-one or a combination of all three. Plenty of my clients do one-on-one to dig into their personal stuff. Maybe they don't want to talk about that in a group setting. And then they do the group for more community, because I think that's important on this path too, to understand that there are other weirdos out there like you. You're not alone, to have other people to, if you are more spiritually minded, to share messages with, to understand what's going on with the energy. And so, yeah, that's the bulk of what I do. And right now I am really trying to, let me just put it out there, get into more public speaking. I want to do more. I don't like motivational. I think inspirational. I want to do more inspirational speaking. I think I have a gift of like helping something awaken in people, helping people see things in a way they never saw it before, especially when it comes to what they're doing to limit themselves in their own life. You know, so that's the bulk of what I do. I think that's it. Yeah, that's the bulk of what I do. And then psychic readings, of course. I do psychic readings, of course. I want to get away from just straight psychic readings. As a psychic, I use my gift to do backward forward facing readings. I don't like forward facing readings. I don't think they have a lot of benefit. And I want to tell your listeners, be careful about asking psychics too many damn questions, because even asking the question changes the energy around that thing. So the more you ask, you can be changing the energy, but also what you're saying and asking is that you don't believe that it's coming, because if you believe that it's coming, you're not questioning that. You know it's coming. Why would you ever need to go to a psychic to ask that? So you might be hurting yourself even by asking that question. Instead, I use my gifts to see what trauma, what limiting beliefs, what's going on in the past that needs to be cleared so that you can go forward with the future that you want. So that's how I use my gift. It took me a while to come to an understanding that that was the best way to use my gift, but that feels really good to me now. That's how I use mine.
Oh, I love it. So different than any other psychic medium that I talk to, and so unique in your way. So cool.
Weirdo. Right. I wish I understood how to market it better, but you know what? I trust that the people who are called to me, just like I'm sure called to you, will find me. And I will say this, I think my methods are profound, but I'm not for everyone. And I think that's why we need more healers stepping up, you know, really finding their own unique way. I have found a lot of healers try copying my methods. You know, I will get a lot of psychics who want to befriend me, and they try, but you can't do what I do. I do this because this is what spirit wanted me to do. You can copy every word I say. It's not the same, because it's about the energy that's behind it. We each need to really find our unique part in this puzzle. You know what I mean? So you are centered around self-esteem. My work is mostly around that deconstruction.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you go real deep into the nitty gritty.
I get granular with you. I'm going to needle in because I want to remove it all, like give it all to me. You know, I don't tell many people this, and I can't believe I'm saying this here, but I'm a pain eater. That's how I grow in power. I eat your pain. I take your pain. So it's a very symbiotic relationship, you know. Give me your pain. You don't need to hold it anymore. Let me take it from you and be free of it. I will transmute it into power. You know what I'm saying? And so it works really well like that. It works really
powerful.
Well. I get in that.
You're a badass. Like, that's so cool.
I think you are too. I think that's why we're attracted to each other.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're just so authentic. That's what really attracted me to you. I was like, wow, when I first saw you, I'm like, I don't know who she is, but wow, she's so real, you know? And I've seen other psychic mediums. I like them too, but it's like when I saw you, I'm like, oh, I love her. She's so deep. And no other psychic medium have I seen like that in the work that you do.
You know, this is a testament to things that seem like they are bad can really be for your blessing. When I was really stepping into being a psychic and a medium and a shaman in the Northern Virginia area, I could find no one who looked like me. They were all older white women, right? And they were all, it was all this like very like gauzy clothes that they would wear, and very like way that they all spoke, and a cadence to their voice and a tone that felt very performative. And I did not have any examples around me. And I really was like, is this going to be a costume, or are you just going to be who you are? Right. You know? And so I just been who I am. Like I am, and I'm this person, whether I'm on a podcast, whether I'm on live, whether I'm making videos, whether it's one-on-one, whether I'm talking to my kids, I'm the same no matter what, you know? And you know why I am? because there was a time when I wasn't. I was a people pleaser and I was fake and phony. And I was so empty and I was so miserable. And no one could hold space for me because I only showed them the good that was happening in my life. I never shared any of the bad. And when I needed help, it wasn't there. You
Yeah.
serve no one by not being your authentic self. I know I'm running on time.
Oh, no, you're totally okay. No, it's so freaking true. So tell everyone, how they can reach you and find you on all your social platforms and everything.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So my website is www.natalie, because that's how it's spelled, marconi.com. And then you can find me on TikTok at Natalie_Marconi or Natalie Marconi 7. You can find me on Instagram. Actually, if you go on my TikTok, you will find my connection to Instagram and my connection to YouTube. But I would think my website, all my socials are on my website too.
So basically go to your website and then find everything else.
Check me out.
So before we let you go, what's the last piece of advice would you like to give the listeners? Anything you feel called to share?
Yeah. I want to encourage each one of your listeners, if you feel inspired by anything that's been said today, to just go right now, go stand in front of the mirror, just go look at yourself for a minute. I want you to make deep eye contact and I want you to say, I'm sorry. And one reason why you're sorry, and I love you. And one reason why you love yourself. And allow yourself to just break open in the slightest way to yourself. Just start that work gently. We don't have to traumatize ourselves for our healing. So we don't have to get in your guts all at one time, just start seeing yourself. Most of us don't look at ourselves. We don't look at the people in our lives. We have forgotten our humanity. So just start by finding your humanity in that mirror. That's the foundation of all of this work. Who are you? Yeah. Without that understanding, there's no reason to take any step forward. There's no reason to try healing because you don't know the best direction for yourself. So figure out who you are first, figure out why you are, and then figure out where you're standing. Then you can direct your steps in a way that's going to catalyze amazing change in your life. So start with mirror work. It's free, it's easy, and it's profound. Start there.
Oh, I love that. That's perfect. Thank you so much, Natalia, for coming on and sharing your insights and the power behind your voice. So I love it so much and I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.